welcome back to Off the Post. In today's episode, I'll be discussing my top 5 most exciting players this season in the Premier League. But before that, as always, please like, comment and subscribe. It's very much appreciated and it goes a long way in helping me build a small community on my channel, okay? We've recently just hit 243 subscribers. We're 7 away from 250. I've said it a few times now in my most recent videos. If we can go and achieve that target, I'll be absolutely over the moon. I'll be buzzing. I'd appreciate all the support from everybody following me of late. But yeah, all the support on social media as well. It definitely does go unnoticed. And yeah, let's get straight into the episode, shall we? Kicking off with the first player on this list, it is the goalkeeper, who's basically doing a five-a-side team pretty much, okay? So in goalkeeper, it's got to be Robin Roefs for Sunderland. For me, he's been so impressive, hasn't he? He's had such a good story coming from the Eredivisie, where he sort of played second fiddle, if you like, in his former team. He sort of played. He was sort of a backup goalkeeper, wasn't he? And he's joined Sunderland and hasn't looked back since. Okay, he's got 3 clean sheets in the Premier League. He's joint second with the likes of David Raya and Dean Henderson. Obviously, Nick Pope's in first with 5 clean sheets, so I could also put him on the list. However, for Robin Roefs, I didn't really know much about this player, to be honest, and he sort of came into the team for Sunderland and sort of hasn't looked out of place since, hasn't he? So for me, Robin Roefs has been probably the most outstanding goalkeeper this season in the Premier League, just because from the standpoint of, Sunderland were touted to be relegated, be in a relegation battle, and they look absolutely amazing, don't they? You could put the likes of Wilson Isidore on this list, you could put the likes of, Granit Xhaka on this list, Mukiele, the French centre-back / right-back, if you like. Hopefully I said his name right. And yeah, for me, Robin Roefs has been absolutely amazing. I just want to see where Sunderland can finish at the end of the season, okay? For me, don't get me wrong, I might be overachieving just a little bit in like those top 6 positions, top 10 positions, if you like. However, I feel like they're going to be comfortably finishing, like, I want to say 13th, 14th, 15th, maybe somewhere around that. I don't know if they'll be in a relegation battle just yet, but it is very early on in the season, so we'll have to wait and see. But anyways, moving over now to our centre-back in this five-a-side team, okay, we've got Arsenal's Gabriel. For me, when you talk about Gabriel, okay, you've got to give him so much praise, because when you talk about the Arsenal defence, that's where their team is potentially going to win the Premier League title because of how fantastic their defence is, okay? They're so structured at the back, they're so hard to break down. Many teams don't score past them just because of their main 2 centre-backs in William Saliba and Gabriel. For me, when we talk about those 2 centre-back partnership, okay, they've been absolutely brilliant together for the last couple of years. And, William Saliba probably does get more of the praise than Gabriel. However, I feel like Gabriel is probably the best centre-back, okay, just because of his defensive abilities and also his, goal threat going forward when you've got a set piece for Arsenal, whether it's a direct free kick or a corner. Gabriel is going to be the main person to target in that box to score you the goals, to score you the headers, to score you the rebounds maybe, or and whatnot, all that sort of good stuff. So for me, Gabriel is absolutely fantastic. He's top notch. And I feel like I would put him a level above William Saliba of late, because I feel like he has sort of overtaken him 1 or 2 levels in recent months, in recent seasons as well. Probably since last season, I feel like Gabriel has probably been one of their most important players for Arsenal, because when he's on form, Arsenal more like 9 times out of 10 will actually win the game. Okay, moving over now to the centre mid position, we've got Chelsea's Caicedo. For me, Caicedo, ever since he joined Chelsea for 100+ million, okay, he was sort of touted as this like world-class centre mid, and he has been that of late. However, when he first joined the club, when he first joined Chelsea 1 or 2 seasons ago, I'm pretty sure at this point, he sort of had a mixed time of it at Chelsea, didn't he, where he sort of came in and he didn't really look that impressive. He didn't really hit the ground running, did he, Caicedo? And he was sort of looking like a shadow of his former self. However, in recent seasons, in recent months as well, quite similar to Gabriel, he sort of came in and he sort of, made him he's always been a starter, hasn't he? I don't want to say that, but he sort of came in, he's sort of dictating games now, isn't he? He's sort of been that main man in the midfield 3 for Chelsea, Caicedo. He's sort of, his defensive ability has always been there, but the way he sort of dictates the attacking press and the attacking of creating opportunities and scoring the goals and creating the assists for those Chelsea wingers, for those Chelsea strikers as well. It has been so impressive to watch from a Chelsea standpoint, just because they do look very good and they could also finish in the top 4 now. When you think about a midfield 3 of the likes of Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Roman Lavia, when you think of maybe the likes of one of the Brazilian midfielders in like Santos or someone like that, you really do feel like Caicedo runs that midfield. He dictates the play from a defensive point of view and an attacking point of view. So for me, the way he's just scoring goals this season has probably been a little bit of a surprise, because I don't feel like in recent seasons when he was playing at Brighton, for example, he was getting those goals and scoring those goals, getting those assists for me. You know, I always thought of him as more of a defensive-minded player, and you know, seeing his goals sort of coming out this season, there's always been that conversation around who's the better player, Moises Caicedo or Declan Rice. Who do we actually think is the better player in there? It's a bit of a tricky question, isn't it, if you think about it, because you know, obviously Declan Rice is probably playing for the better side overall. Arsenal are, you know, challenging for the Premier League title. However, Moises Caicedo is definitely right behind him in that sort of conversation. And when you think about it, right, for me, Moises Caicedo is probably a better CDM in that sort of aspect of the defensive point of view. His sort of defensive awareness, his defensive reactions, its ability to, you know, sweep up and get the ball off those sort of counter attacks, if you like, from the opposition, just to sort of, you know, calm things down in the midfield and to play those tiki-taka 1-2s, to play those through balls into midfield, just to, you know, recycle the possession so Chelsea don't lose the ball and whatnot. I feel like that's how Moises Caicedo adds to the Chelsea side, and I feel like going forward, you know, I feel like he will become that sort of main figure for that Chelsea midfield, even though he already is. I feel like for years to come, he probably can do that for another couple of years under Enzo Maresca. For me, when you think about Declan Rice, I always thought of him as a sort of CDM, but now under Mikel Arteta, he's sort of been transformed into playing that number 8 role where he gets on the ball more, where he drives at defenders and sort of, you know, creates his opportunities to score and get assists as well for the team. So, you know, both of those players are quite similar in the roles that both managers are sort of asked these players to do, if that makes sense. Okay, moving over now to the winger position. It's a bit of a tricky one because we could have chosen a few right wingers or a few left wingers as well, but I've gone with Bournemouth's Antonio Semenyo. Okay, for me, he's been probably one of the most exciting players this season to watch from that winger point of view. Okay, every time he gets on the ball, he just creates some magic, doesn't he? He's absolutely fantastic. 9 times out of 10, he's going to score for Bournemouth. You know, he's a main player in that side. He's a star man, and for me, you know, I did say it last season, I was a bit scared that he might be a one-season wonder. However, he's sort of taken the ball by his horns, if you like, this season as well. And he's gone on to show he can do it once again. He can become a consistent player in the Premier League. If you think about Bournemouth side, they've had like a mini transformation, if you like, for all the players they've sold this season under Areola. So you've got to think to yourself, maybe Bournemouth probably wouldn't be in the same team as they were last season. They probably wouldn't finish as high as they did last season. Again, they look absolutely fine, don't they? They look absolutely brilliant once again, and it goes to show the amazing job that the Spaniard manager has actually done this season for Bournemouth. So for me, Antonio Semenyo is absolutely fantastic. Okay, he can just run games, the ability to drive at players, the ability to drive past players as well, to do it with ease. Okay, Antonio Semenyo has scored 6 goals and got 3 assists across 7 games in the Premier League this season. What on earth is that? Absolutely fantastic. He's played 630 minutes and scored 6 goals and got 3 assists. Absolutely amazing. For me, he's got to be one of the most exciting players in the Premier League right now. I've said it a few times in this video, I can't speak highly enough of Antonio Semenyo. Okay, for me, when you think about him elevating his game, I feel like if he does go on and get another 10 to 15 goal season like he did last season, okay, I really do feel like he'd get his big money move to the likes of Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, maybe someone like that, someone in the top 4 where he'll sort of benefit and sort of, you know, even elevate his game even more. Okay, but quickly moving on to the striker position, I've got to choose Newcastle's Woltemade. Okay, this guy, what can I say about this guy? I did not know anything about him last season. Okay, obviously he signed from Stuttgart for, I want to say, roughly 60 million-ish, I want to say. Obviously being the main man to replace Alexander Isak, and he hasn't looked out of place whatsoever, has he, for Newcastle so far. You got to think about it, he's what, 6'6", 6'7", something like that. Absolutely tall specimen of a human being. Okay, he's like the German Peter Crouch, if you like, and for me, he's so silky on the ball. Some of his skills that he can do, you know, I've watched some of his highlight reels for Newcastle this season, okay, especially in the Champions League, I'm pretty sure, where he was just rolling past players like it was nobody's business. He honestly is fantastic, Woltemade. And for me, he can also score goals as well. It's not just about his silky on the ball touches. You know, he's got a good touch for a big lad, let me tell you now. And for me, the goals he can score as well. You know, he's a clinical finisher. I'm not even going to say anything bad about this guy. Again, quite similar to Antonio Semenyo, I can't speak highly enough of Woltemade. to sort of come in and replace Alexander Isak's goals seamlessly. He scored 4 goals across all of his competitions. Obviously, he plays in the Champions League as well. He's only played 1 game in the Champions League, but he scored 3 in the Premier League, got 1 in the Champions League. So from that point of view, he has looked impressive, and he can score a range of different types of goals. He can score headers, he can score, long shots, he can score, a fox in the box type finishes, poacher finishes, where he sort of runs to the near post, he runs to the far post. He's very physical. He can beat his defenders, if you like, in those centre-back positions. So for me, Woltemade is definitely one to watch for the season, okay? I did not know anything about him at the start of the season. I'll tell you now, I'll be completely honest, I didn't have a clue who he was. But it just goes to show that sometimes, scouts know what they're doing, because this guy is absolutely brilliant. And for me, I just wish I knew about him a little bit earlier on in my footballing YouTube career. I feel like he was linked to the likes of Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, which pretty much every young German player is linked to Bayern Munich who's actually doing well in the Bundesliga. So that's not really too much of a surprise. However, it does go to show the level of status he had in the Bundesliga playing for Stuttgart. And for me, I really do like him. So yeah, we have to wait and see. Has Woltemade been one of the most exciting players this season in the Premier League? I'll leave on that question, okay? But yeah, let's add a few more questions in there. Why not? Who do you feel has been the best goalkeeper this season? How do you feel like Robin Roefs has sort of done for Sunderland? Do you feel like Sunderland will stay in the Premier League? How would you feel about Gabriel being Arsenal's best centre back? How would you feel about Arsenal potentially winning the Premier League as well? How would you feel about Moises Caicedo? Is he better than Declan Rice? How do you feel about Antonio Semenyo being one of the best wingers in the Premier League at the moment? Where do you feel like Bournemouth can finish in the Premier League? How would you feel about obviously Woltemade being a surprising standout signing this season, just because did you actually know about Woltemade? Because I didn't. So let me know in the comments down below if you did or not. But yeah, that's where we're going to end it. But before that, as always, please like, comment and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. It goes a long way in helping me build a small community on my channel. We've recently just hit 243 subscribers. If we can reach 250, I'll be absolutely blown away. I'll be absolutely amazed with all the support. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.